Representative Eric Burleson is back in the headlines once again after some incredible promises for the UAP community moving forward into 2025 and also potentially into 2026. Obviously, Representative Eric Burleson from Missouri has been hot on the heels of the UAP topic as of late. He's kind of alongside the likes of Tim Burchett and Anna Paulina Luna and people like this who are, really keen and advocates for the UAP topic and transparency within government and getting the knowledge and information out to us, the peasant people. And, I guess they are supposedly, the unsung heroes of this kind of narrative. But Representative Eric Burleson has sat down for another podcast episode on the UAP podcast with Stephen Diner. Now, I think this is the second or third time that he's actually appeared on the podcast, but some of the things that he went on to state were quite incredible. Now, Stephen Diner has got a YouTube channel for the UAP podcast, but he hasn't uploaded it there. It was in fact uploaded to Spotify yesterday at the time of recording. In the episode description, how many UFOs are actually US tech? Who are the people behind the scenes blocking disclosure? Are witnesses actually being killed over this secret? These are just some of the questions that are brought up during this episode of the UAP as Stephen Diner sits down with long-ranging and in-depth conversation with Transparency Task Force member and Missouri Congressman Eric Burleson. Much is revealed. What's also worth noting is that Eric Burleson, of course, has basically taken on David Grush, who, of course, is the huge whistleblower that came out back in 2023, under his wing, and to a degree kind of like behind the scenes to kind of as an advisor for this topic on how best to manage the situation. And I have noticed since he's taken Grush on in that role, Eric Burleson is everywhere, like literally everywhere, talking about all sorts of crazy stuff. So clearly, I don't know if it is David Grush, but in my speculation, clearly there's a lot going on behind the scenes. But you're not here to listen to that. You're here to hear about some of the things coming out from this podcast episode. Obviously, it's a good couple of hours long. It's a good listen, maybe if you've got a car journey or something, but I would listen over on Spotify if I were you. But the first thing that they went on to talk about was some UFO hearings and briefings that Burleson is pushing to try and have this year. This is what he had to say.
Yeah, we're pursuing a hearing date. We have got a list of people that we're looking at. We're actually looking at doing potentially two. One with some people that are direct whistleblowers, people that have had, when I say direct, they've had eyes directly on or have personally encountered UAP in their formal operation. Not somebody out and about like Joe Blow out there that saw something. There's thousands and thousands of people like that. Sure. We're talking about people that have worked for the Pentagon or worked in a government program where they worked in and around this technology, whether it was through crash retrieval or through reverse engineering. That's what we're pursuing right now. The next hearing after that is where we're gonna, once we're able to get information, we're looking at doing some interrogatories, which is where you take some of the things that have been said in these briefings, in these hearings, in these open hearings under oath, and then we send a letter, a formal letter as a committee asking for answers from, whether it's Tulsi Gabbard or, whomever it is that we need to be asking these questions of. And then which would set up the potential second hearing, which would hopefully be able to include people like Tulsi Gabbard to be able to come forward. And I've been told that she's a friendly when it comes to this topic, that she wants disclosure. She wants to help bring about disclosure on this topic.
It's a really interesting point made there, obviously, trying to get these kinds of people forward because, like he says there, you can get a Joe Bloggs off the street there's hundreds of thousands of those who have seen something potentially in the sky, but it's what they're interested in is the people who have had first-hand accounts of maybe they've had hands-on experiences with reverse engineering, with UAP, with potentially even biological beings. Do you know what I mean? And that's the kind of thing that we've seen from David Grush, for example, who basically started up this whole endeavor. Now, interestingly as well, within the podcast episode, Eric Burleson also basically has requested, now this is a pretty kind of crazy thing, has requested a White House briefing on UAP special access programs, right? So obviously these special access programs, we've heard a lot about them in recent months, especially with people like Ross Coulthart stating that, he knows of people who have had their lives threatened over special access programs and if they were to blow the whistle on anything. But they've also requested a tour of Area 51 and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Now, obviously, when you think of Area 51 and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the instant kind of thought is aliens, right? It's like they've got some secret underground facilities where, aliens are being probed and tested and anything goes to Area 51. And it's been a long time running gag that, aliens are kept cooped up in Area 51. And these guys are like, right, well, we want to get in there. And we want to get like, a tour of the place. We want to see every nook and cranny.
A lot of these special access programs are under the purview directly under the supervision of the White House. And so we'll see. Now, I will say, and this is kind of breaking news a little bit, but just as a sidebar discussion, not as part of the negotiations, but just being in the room and talking with White House officials, I made a request for myself and Tim Burchett and Anna and the rest of the UAP caucus to get a tour of Area 51, of Wright-Patterson, and then get a full briefing from the White House on their special access programs related to UAP. And so one of those has been somewhat greenlit, and I'm still waiting to hear back from the others.
I mean, Shy Ben's getting out, I suppose. If you don't ask, you don't get. And in this case, he definitely asked, and there's a good possibility that he might get. I doubt it. I highly doubt it, And even if he did get in there and they all got in there, right, who's to say that it won't just be a tour of a hangar where they've got a Blackbird jet, for example, like just these kinds of surface level things. Because if they pre-warned that these people are coming, it's a good possibility that they can just kind of hush everything down, under lock and key, and then show them what they want to see, which would be like, and then they'll come out and be like, we found nothing at the Air Force Base, or we found nothing at Area 51, when actually, under the surface, there's something shady going on. But the last part that I wanted to talk about, which was really interesting to me in particular, was obviously, like I said before, David Grush is kind of working behind the scenes with Eric Burleson, kind of pulling a few strings here and there and kind of advising what to do. And one of the segments talked about was David Grush and the consequences that he's had with regards to becoming a whistleblower, coming out and talking about all the things that he did to Ross Coulthart and to News Nation. Because obviously it was a huge thing that happened, and it's really kind of spearheaded a lot of what's happened in the past couple of years, especially because up until that point UAP disclosure was quite stagnant, but then David Grush comes out, blows all of this stuff out the water, and to be fair, gave a confidence to a lot of people to come out and tell their sides of events and stuff like this, but it didn't come without its consequences.
David Grush is a good example. I mean, he's lost his benefits. He's lost his retirement in stepping away from the military in order to be a whistleblower. He's given up a lot, and I think that he deserves to have that given back to him. And so, but that should not be the case for other whistleblowers that come forward. They should not have to see him as an example of what their life is going to end up like. And because it is definitely a chilling thing. And so that I think there has been, David has talked about some people that have passed and questioned that, the way in which they died, and suspected that it might have their connection and involvement with being a whistleblower.
Mm.
But we don't have anything definitive. I have sent referrals to an investigative team to investigate a particular death, and we're going to continue to do that.
Wow. So there's one that actually is in your mind that you're thinking about now that was pretty suspicious, like suspicious enough for you to act on it.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow. Without compromising anything with it, can we talk about what that involved as far as the information that did come out, or what that was trying to come out? When?
No, I don't have the details of that.
Okay. But clearly something that was suspicious enough to look into, where someone actually did die. Wow, that's startling. Well,
and it could be unrelated, but we just don't know.
Yeah.
There's enough suspicion that it needs to be investigated.
And this person worked within the government and government programs?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's what whistleblowing is deemed to be at the moment. Do you know what I mean? It's like you build up a career, and whether it be the military, for example, let's say, or government, and then you become a whistleblower, and all of a sudden all of your perks that you've built up for 20, 30, 40 plus years of doing your job are suddenly stripped from you, all because you decided that you wanted to tell people the truth, allegedly. It is pretty damning. But what do you guys think about these claims from Eric Burleson? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. While you're down there, jump to get the hell out of that like button and subscribe. And until next time, I'll speak to you later. Peace.